Still have more machines to come. As a matter of fact, one of the stronger entries in this sport is in the far lane. It'll be the incredible Sandpacker, being driven by Jim Tollison. The 44-year-old veteran out of Bivens, Texas, is always a killer with his 509 cubic inch Chevy-powered ride. He'll be taking on Darren Matthew from Moss Point, Mississippi. The Attitude Adjustment, 1979 Toyota, of all things, was last seen on the U.S. Auto Association Trail in Houston, Texas. An extremely competitive machine, 2,800 pounds with Ford power in this Toyota. The Ford leaves the starting line first, and unbelievably, James Tollison can't even get past about the 50-foot marker. That's a huge upset win for Darren Matthew.
Well, it looked like, too, with Attitude Adjustment, he might have pulled out of the throttle just a little bit too early, maybe being a little too cautious. It could have cost him a few tenths of a second.
I'm more interested to find out what happened to James Tollison. We'll take a look at the slow-motion run from Darren Matthew head-on here. Look at the tire growth on the back of this thing. 400 cubic inch Ford small block all nitrous oxide, and that is certainly the quickest that vehicle has ever run. 2.56 seconds for a 2,800-pound vehicle. That is an exceptional effort. Meanwhile, Jim Tollison, who could have easily threatened Larry Jarrett, something goes away in the drivetrain, only 20 feet off the starting line, and he's left coasting through, Shelley, a 75-foot pass.
It doesn't put him dead last. Remember, we had someone who measured in at 65 feet earlier.
Here's the final competitor in this first and only round of super modified mud racing. Larry Kolikis' 1982 Chevy Corvette is left with a 2.12-second mark to beat. The 454 cubic inch big block Chevrolet Vet, called outrageous, from Kepner, Louisiana, will be the last man down this track to try and beat Larry Jarrett's incredible supercharged sprint car out of the #1 spot. There's the green flag. Kolikis puts her into gear and nails the throttle. He's got a good run going, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to knock Jarrett out of the #1 spot. The crowd cheering him on nonetheless, but I don't think that was a 212, Shelley.
I don't think so either, but it was still a real respectable run in its own right.
With the ruts developing in both lanes of the track, you can see Kolikis definitely fighting the steering wheel just to keep in a straight line. Let's look at it from a head-on angle. There you can see it already shimmying around. The elapsed time, 3.08 seconds. And Kolikis' beautiful 82 Corvette will be unable to threaten the leader. Of course, Larry Jarrett, the Oklahoma killer. Indeed, Jarrett comes back after having not won a U.S. Auto Association Championship event in over a year. He takes the super modified title at 2.12 seconds with supercharged Chevrolet power. But how about Larry D'Antoni's brand new Addicted to Mud 32 Ford with Chevy power, running 246 for the #2 spot, ahead of people like Bubba Clements and the Chances Are machine. The incredible Attitude Adjustment of Darren Matthews finishes fourth, the first full-bodied vehicle in that lineup. And the incredible new Corvette called Cool Breeze of Don Johnson finishes fifth in its first event ever, Shelley. Take a look at the replay one more time for the man who won this event. Oklahoma's Larry Jarrett wheels up at 2.12 seconds. Incredible.
And he makes quite a splash for a finish.
Sideways with the brakes locked up. Like I said, that supercharged Chevrolet never really touched the front end down all the way. And here's the brand new vehicle that finished #2, Larry D'Antoni. From Louisiana, the Addicted to Mud 32 Ford, following in the footsteps of Tom Martin and Tom Mintz.
And if you're going to copy somebody, copy Tom Martin, because he seems to know what he's doing.
That's right, the defending world champ, one of the first to bring that 32 Ford body style into the sport. And here's a guy that is always one of the toughest, the supercharged home-built Jeep of Texas's own Bubba Clements. The Chances Are machine on a tremendous blast for third place. The absolute best drivers in the business in the U.S. Auto Association Super Modified ranks from coast to coast. But that's not all the action we have here coming up. Next up will be the incredible Ernie Adams, one of the greatest new motorcycle talents in the business. He'll be here next, so stay tuned. We're back, ladies and gentlemen, at the Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana, as the U.S. Auto Association Monster Truck Mud Racing and Thrill Show Spectacular continues. And Shelley, Herman, we're waiting for the first motorcycle jump attempt by one of the hottest new names in the business.
And that new name is Ernie Adams from Canoga Park, California. He's a Valley guy from the San Fernando Valley area.
I'll tell you, this young man is amazing. His first jump attempt will be over 16 cars. Here he comes onto the approach ramp, up. Beautiful jump, unbelievable distance. That wasn't a 16-car jump, Shelley. That was well over 20.
I can't wait to see the instant replay on that to see just how well he cleared that.
Well, right now, the concern is in the shutdown area where apparently Adams had to lay down that bike into the hay bales in the shutoff area, but right now I don't see any emergency crews or anything underway. It looks like he is okay, but apparently had to use up every available inch of stopping distance after clearing well over 16 cars. Here you see the bike get a little squirrely when the front forks compress when he hits the approach ramp. Sailing beautifully. There's the end of the ramp. He is still in the air. He finally puts the front end down past the end of the landing ramp. They coast for a little while. There you can see him first getting on the brakes as he heads down into the shutdown area and apparently had to lay the bike down to stop it. Now here's an interesting angle from the end of the takeoff ramp, Shelley.
And you can see he actually gets more height as he pulls up on the front end of his bike. And when he lands, his body absorbs most of the impact. He doesn't bounce around and lose control of the bike at all.
That's true. He slammed the front end down pretty hard, but he didn't move around at all when he did it. Tremendous upper body strength of this young man. There you see the safety crews with him. He is apparently okay, rubbing his wrist. Maybe he took, like you said, a lot of that energy right in his arms. And walking out, I'm sure he'll get a heck of an ovation after that incredible jump. Ernie Adams.
Show, and he had an excellent jump there too, and if it wasn't for the fact that the bike let him down, he would have jumped even further.
Well, it's interesting to know that Ernie's program tonight calls for him to come right back around on the same bike and make a second jump. They are currently adding 2 more cars to the end of the lineup of machines that he jumped a minute ago to make it a total of 18. Now, it was obvious that he cleared what would have well been over 20 cars in total distance. You can see him obviously feeling the brunt of that first landing, but indeed, he should be probably getting on another bike. I would certainly think he's going to use his backup bike this time around.
Well, he gave a thumbs up sign, so I think physically he's ready for it.
Now watch the machine. Right there, you see it get a little squirrely when the front forks compressed. He manages to straighten it out. It was just a period of maybe 8 feet where the bike was literally sideways. He gets back in it. There you see that incredible landing. No exaggeration, at the end of the landing ramp, jumping what would have been the equivalent of 20, maybe even 22 cars. Tremendous jump by this young man. He is definitely gaining a reputation. Now, apparently, we've received word he's on the bike and ready. Here he is already, making the second jump. Another perfect landing and another phenomenal distance. This guy doesn't waste any time. It looks like he may have gone down again by the signs from the folks there at the approach ramp and down into the shutdown area. Hopefully he's okay.
I don't know if you can appreciate the type of speeds that this young man is approaching when you're watching this on television.
He is making these hits at about 75 miles per hour, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's going a little faster than that. As you can see, the ground crew is now starting to head back in there. And we've received word that indeed he is again in the hay bales. Let's watch this in slow motion. There it again gets a little sideways when the front forks compress. He is up in the air again. There's the end of the cars. And there's where he finally lands this thing. That was a much rougher landing this time, though, Shelley.
It sure was, but again, those knees, those tired knees, are absorbing a lot of that brunt of the pressure.
To make 2 jumps back-to-back like that is simply incredible. Here's the off the end of the takeoff ramp angle. Man, he is up there. The flash bulbs go off as the crowd loves every minute of this man's incredible jumping ability. And I'll tell you what, that was a rough landing. Incredible tire distortion in the back. It was almost going over. But there you see the ground crews in the shutdown tunnel congratulating Ernie on another phenomenal jump. You are going to hear so much more about this guy in the future, Shelley.
He seems real pleased with it, too. I have a feeling that there's a big adrenaline rush that's going through him right now, and the crowd's just adding to it.
Now watch, it gets a little squirrely right there. He stays in the throttle, up the ramp. Incredible height over these cars. Watch again, right there's the end of the cars. And there's the landing. Man, a rough landing, but that has to be another 40 feet of travel past 18 cars. It's simply incredible.
I look forward to seeing him do more and more of this kind of stuff indoors.
Now, we got another angle from head on. Now, I want you to watch this landing, and you see how much rougher this was than even his first landing. Watch the rear tire on this motorcycle distort when it puts it down. See how far back he is. He was definitely not in control. Look at that hit. Unbelievable flexing of the motorcycle chassis. He took a big hit physically on that landing, and there he goes into the shutdown area to put it down one more time. Absolutely amazing young man that you're going to be hearing a lot more about. Canoga Park, California's own Ernie Adams. At U.S. Harvard Association shows across the country, he has been a literal superstar, Shelley.
And limping slightly back to his bike, Ernie Adams. We'll be seeing a lot more of him.
Well, speaking of seeing a lot more, we've got a tremendous amount of action yet to go. The Battle of the Monster Trucks is still waiting in the wings. But up next, the Dynamite Lady, Allison Bly. Stay with us.